Hello, this is Matt, and today we're talking about debasement, which is me giving you less but receiving the same amount. So back in the day, they used to decrease the size of the coins. Then they started to decrease the purity. So they reduced the amount of silver or gold. Now there's no silver, no gold. We're just dealing with paper. So how do you debase the paper? You print more. So either way, you are decreasing the value of the money and hoping that you receive the same amount of goods. But it doesn't work. If you look back through history, it always gets figured out. So the people that are receiving that debased money all of a sudden want more. And that's what we call inflation, right? So the value of the currency goes down, which means you have to spend more of that currency to buy the same amount of goods. Now this reminds me of Pee Wee Herman when he went to the psychic and the psychic told him, go to the basement. It's in the basement of the Alamo.
The Alamo. Alamo. The Alamo. In the basement.
Where's the basement?
Excuse me?
Aren't we going to see the basement?
There's no basement at the Alamo.
So he traveled to the Alamo looking for debasement. And what did he find? Everybody ridiculed him. They said, there's no basement in the Alamo. They made him look foolish. And I think that's what they try to do to coin collectors and stackers. They say, why are you playing with coins? You're not a 12-year-old kid anymore. Forget about coins. Just forget about the 1982 and prior pennies. Who cares if they're copper? Who cares about 64 and before silver quarters? Who cares, man? It's currency. A quarter is a quarter, a cent is a cent. It's all the same, right? It spins the same. It's kiddie stuff to go hunting for metal content. Well, us coin collectors, I think we are preserving our history and remembering our history. So let's go to the Antoninianus. This is Roman times. They tried to come out with a coin that was the size of a nickel. It was about 5 grams, and they tried to pass it off as worth 2 to 1 to a denarius. So that just didn't make sense, and the people knew it. It was a nickel-sized coin, but they were saying its value is worth 2 times a denarius. Again, it didn't make sense. Compare that to a modern day nickel. Somebody's saying that dime is worth twice as much, right? I know why the dime is small because it used to be silver, but modern day, if you give a child a nickel and a dime, how do you explain that the dime is worth 2 nickels? So it's Gresham's law, where bad money drives the good money out of circulation. Again, the good money ends up going in people's pockets, putting it into coin collections. People don't want to spend the good money that has a lot of value. They'll spend this modern day currency, they'll spend the Antoninianus, and they will drive the denarius to be hoarded. So let's talk about purity. The denarius used to have 93.5% pure silver. And then over time, it went down to 5% silver. That's ridiculous, right? It's a copper coin with a wash of silver. Worthless. So did we learn our lesson from Rome? Nope. Let's go to Britain now. So the sterling pound used to actually be a pound of sterling silver. Imagine that. A pound of silver used to be a pound. Then it was reduced to about 6 ounces. Then King Henry VIII came along and started to debase the money. And then eventually it got down to be a pound being about 1 ounce. So we went from a sterling silver pound being worth a pound of silver all the way down to about 1 ounce. It was a ridiculous amount of debasement. So what happened after King Henry passed away? Queen Elizabeth I revalued the pound to be 4 ounces of silver, but most importantly, she made the coins sterling silver again, 92.5% purity. So bringing the coinage back to 92.5% pure brought confidence back to the money, But the lesson that Gresham said was you can't introduce this 92.5% pure silver while the other coins are still out there in circulation. He talked about how this good money, if it goes out there at par with the existing junk, this existing junk is still going to circulate, and this new good stuff will never circulate because people won't spend it. It's 92.5% pure. There's no way we can make it on par with the current coins. So people are just going to hoard it and put it in their pocket, and it'll be all for naught. So what they had to do was recoin. So they had to call back all the bad coinage, pull it out of circulation. So now we have good coinage out there with good purity, but there was another issue that was revealed. It was called clipping, because the edges of all the coins were irregular or they were smooth. So people were clipping or shaving off a little bit of silver. So throughout the late 1500s and 1600s, they realized we have some coins out there that are no longer circles. They look like rectangles or triangles. I mean, there could be any shape. So the reliability of the weight was not there. So they came up with a milled process where they could mill the edge of the circle or put a reeded edge on it, or even edge lettering, anything that would let somebody see that somebody did shave it. And if you look at our US Constitution, we talk about the Spanish milled dollar. So when we said in 1792, we're going to base our dollar on the Spanish milled dollar, not the one that had been clipped. We wanted the new standard weight. Everybody knew exactly the amount of grams that were intended because there was a milled edge. So let's wrap it up. How do you debase your currency? Do you remember 1853 when the quarters and the dimes, they were reduced to 0.72 ounces of silver, while the dollar was still at 0.77. They reduced the quantity or the size of the change by 6%. So they made 4 quarters be 0.72 ounces of silver, while the silver dollar was still 0.77. So that's one way to debase your currency, is by changing the size of the coins. The next option is to reduce the purity. So if you have 90% silver and then all of a sudden you turn your half dollars to 40% silver and then you go to 0% silver, that's a debasement. Or if you look back through history, again, the Roman denarius went from 93.5 all the way down to 5. That's incredible. And in the modern era, now that paper is not backed by specie, it's not backed by gold or silver, they now just inflate by printing more paper. It's the same process. Again, reducing the metal content or increasing the supply of paper has the same effect. You're introducing more currency that's going to drive the prices up because the value of the currency is less. And merchants are smart, right? They're going to know, hey, something's different, right? There's less silver, or nowadays, you know what? There's more paper. Everything's inflating, so I need to inflate too. So what do you think is going to happen next? What's going to happen to the US dollar? Are we going to revalue or rename the US dollar? Is it going to go to a central bank digital currency? Will quarters, dimes, nickels, and half dollars no longer be needed? This is a great time in our history, but it's also a scary time, right? We don't know what's going to happen. If they kill the penny, are they also going to kill the nickel? And that makes those a rarity? Or are these just going to be, little metal discs that have zero value? But if you like them, I guess you can collect them, right? I just don't know. I assume they're always going to be a collectible thing. They're always going to be a useful currency, but I don't really think they're going to be used in the future. So those of us that have the coins, I think we just hold them and we keep them and we love them and we preserve our history and teach our kids. And if you have the coins that have silver in them, I think they're going to go up in value extremely high, because once everything gets revalued, people are going to go, what's all this based on? If you look back through our history, it's always been silver and gold. Before coinage, there was shells and corn, and there was country money, right? You could sell bushels of produce. But that's not the way it didn't work, because it's not a parity trade. You want to sell me a goat? Well, all I have is corn. So it didn't work if you didn't want corn. So we had to come up with coins. So this has been the way things have gone for the last 2,000 years, right? Coins are the way to transfer value. But now digital coins are the way to transfer value. New generation, I don't think they're going to have as much opportunity to go to the bank and get a box of pennies, right? We are the fortunate ones, that last generation that had this opportunity. So let's take advantage of it, right? Our time is now. Go get some nickels, go get some pennies. So thank you for coming along this story of debasement, right? We went to the Alamo, we went to Texas, we searched for debasement, and it wasn't there.
Where's the basement?
Excuse me?
Aren't we gonna see the basement?
There's no basement at the Alamo.
Again, everybody's ridiculing the coin collectors and the stackers and the people that care about metal content. But I think we need to stay the course. We will find our bike. Like Pee-wee was searching for his stolen bike. We're searching for value. We're trying to put our money into something that's going to hold value. So I think we need to stick with our silver, stick with our gold, and keep learning, right? Keep learning about the history. I'm amazed at how common debasement is throughout our history. But if you ask most people on the streets, you know, what's the difference between a 65 and a 64 quarter? They have no idea, right? We are a rare group that learns about this stuff, and we're gonna come out ahead at the end. So stay with it. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you guys next time. Now this reminds me of Pee-wee Herman when he went to that psychic. Gresham's law, where good money drives out and eventually the denarius. Fuck.